Hey, okay. One quick question. So that was a total. We saw you on the Fantasy in March, and
Cool.
Did something totally go over my head? How come everybody kept yelling, what's your name? And that's why I sent you that yesterday.
That's great. That happens a lot.
Is that like a shtick or something, or what? Am I
in my show?
Yeah.
In my show, I say my name and then I play a sound effect, and then I kind of say every time I say my name, that sound effect plays. So throughout the show, people will sometimes yell, "What's your name?" And they'll expect me to stop everything I'm doing and say my name, spin around. I have like a little spin I do with it, and then the sound effect plays. But really, it's a test for like the sound person, if they're like paying attention to play, because I can always just say my name and spin. But it's when you need that sound cue that makes it like it's a good punch to that joke. So people will, the first, it's like a love-hate thing, because I love that people want to engage with me during my show, but then like after the show, I'll be trying to get some food or be like trying to nap outside or something. People be like, "What's your name?" And I'll be like, "Marcus, hi, how are you doing?" And then they'll expect me to like do the spin and have the music. And I'm like, "Well, I'm not on stage." So sometimes while I'm on stage, I'll add, and if you yell this to me, like if you see me in the hall, I will ignore you, just so, because sometimes I clearly hear people ask me what my name is and I just keep walking. But sometimes if I'm like not bothered, like it's never a bother when people come up to me and talk to me on a ship, never ever. But sometimes I'm not in the mood to just like spin around and like be someone's monkey, you know what I mean? Like be like like a clown for everybody.
So I was just curious. I may or may not have had a couple glasses of wine because we saw you after dinner, and so I was like, "Man, what did I miss?"
I love it.
All right, let's have a little bit of fun. You ready? Well, hello, and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. All right, well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you and your family travel a little bit smarter next time. And I'd like to welcome to the show the co-host, Christy Puttick from PackYourPixies.com. How you doing today, Christy?
I am well, thank you.
And we are approaching the end of the school year. How things are going with you?
It's crazy. I just took a little weekend trip to Mexico, and then my kid's birthday is tomorrow, and the end of the school year is next week. So it's pretty much mayhem right now.
It is. And I feel like I'm just juggling things. There's like just tons of stuff going on with the kids, finishing up 2 different sports each, finishing up the end of the school year, work and all that kind of stuff. And I thought this would be a crazy little intro to our guest that I'm really excited to bring on today. He is a comedian and juggler originating from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but living in New York. He's known as the rock star of jugglers from the New York press. He combines innovative juggling with high energy comedy and improv skills to create a unique performance. And our family got a chance to see him on the Disney Fantasy this past March. He was amazing. Welcome to the show, Marcus Monroe.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm clapping
Yay!
for myself.
Quite an intro, Steve.
I love it.
No.
A quick note about that intro. I loved it. There is another juggler out there, and he calls himself Rockstar Juggler. And I'm not going to say his name, but and I don't call myself the rock star of jugglers. That was a quote given to me, but it's like a really catchy quote. But he was like, he's forever been like Rockstar Juggler. Then like his name, you can just Google it if you want to. But he like approached me once in an airport and was really upset that he thought I was using his like name as my name. Like, I was like, no, that's. I was like, what? Why? What does that even mean? Like. I was like, no. I was like, it's just a quote. I didn't call myself that. You've been calling yourself that. I just got a cool quote. But so, like, I've been trying to not push the rock star of juggler quote as much. Like, I love that you said it, and that's totally fine. Keep it in. But I just want to make it clear that I am not calling myself that.
Well,
I might have to call you that the rest of the show, though. Now
that's fine. That's fine. You won't make me upset.
In life, I've always been taught you don't get to pick your nickname. That comes to you,
that's
right?
True.
Yeah,
I think that's true. But like, also, if you are a rock star juggler, like, what does that mean? Like, you're a juggler. Like, you're not playing any instruments. You're not a rock star. I don't like. Do you have the persona of a rock star? If you do, you'd be a really bad juggler because they cannot, play. You got to have focus. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's
Definitely.
just not my. It's not my. Yeah, I'm just. happy to be here. I don't know if that made any sense.
No, it made total sense. Well, let's just jump into it. You come from Wisconsin. What got you into juggling? How did you get into juggling? And let's just start from there.
Good question. So I was around 8 or 9, and I was doing magic tricks, and I loved magic. I loved performing magic. And then I saw a girl in my grade school juggle, and I was really surprised because at the time I thought only adults could juggle. I had only seen adults juggle. Even though I was doing magic, I was like, well, adults, juggling looks hard. and the magic tricks I was doing worked on their own. They were like self-working magic tricks you could just buy and anyone could do. And so I expressed interest in juggling to my family, and my aunt and uncle bought me the Klutz book of juggling for my birthday. I think I was turning 9 or 10.
I think I've seen that before.
It's a book. It has like square beanbags attached to it.
Yeah.
And it's a great book. It's actually a really great book. And so my dad and I and my mom learned how to juggle together as like a little family. Now I have 2 brothers, but we all had kind of fairly different interests. I was like into performing and magic and then juggling, and my younger brother was into sports. My older brother was also into sports and comic books. So I was kind of the extrovert wanting attention all of the time. So I taught myself how to juggle, and then I was like, you know what? I don't really care for this magic stuff right now. I'm more focused on juggling. So I put all my eggs into the juggling basket, as you do when you're 9 or 10, 11, 12. And I got gigs around my town in Milwaukee. It's called Shorewood. It's like a mile square village. And I would do birthday parties, parades, fairs and festivals. And I got pretty good fairly young. I was doing a lot of crazy things at a young age, and I think that brought a lot of attention to me. And in high school, I kept it going. It was like the only job I ever really had that I took seriously. Like I worked retail just, to meet people in a mall, but that wasn't a passion of mine. I just did that for fun. And I was a waiter for 2 weeks, but I got fired very quickly. But I was always just like, no, I just want to juggle. I always knew since I was 9, pretty much, what I wanted to do with my life. And I love the feeling of making people happy by doing something that you work hard at. And I kind of like I like lifting people's spirits and taking them out of their life and bringing them into my world, if just for 10 minutes, if for an hour. Like for some reason at a really young age, that like really meant a lot to me. And so I kind of knew that was what I wanted to do. And because I was young and I was juggling fire on really tall unicycles, I got a lot of national attention. And I did some TV shows. And then I moved out to New York when I was 19. And I went to school for in New York for theater and film, because I figured I wanted to. Theater seemed pretty easy to me. I didn't take it so seriously. I know some people. I was all performing my whole life for the most part, and so I was never. You could probably guess, but I was never really like a scholar. Like I love to read and I love learning things, but I don't like being told what to read or what to learn. I kind of like to read on my own and teach myself what I need to learn, because I knew what I wanted to do for my life. I was like, I don't need to learn about like bonding and chemicals and for science and math. It's still today, I break out in hives when I think about it. So I moved to New York, but I then got cast as a host of a kids show on Discovery Kids. So I skipped a couple of weeks of school and I went out to LA and I shot this TV show, but that TV show didn't really end up going anywhere. Unfortunately, it aired on NBC mornings on Discovery Kids. But it was still really great. But then because of that show, I got a few other shows and a manager. And then I decided after 2 years of school to drop out and started to juggle full time. And I'm sorry, 3 years of school, dropped out. I dropped out, started juggling full time, and I started booking myself on cruise ships. And the first cruise line I worked on was Princess. And it was really, really fun. I was so happy to be actually making decent money doing what I loved. It was like a dream come true. And then I started working a bunch of different cruise lines. And not only that, but I was performing at colleges and comedy clubs. And I feel like for the last, I want to say like 10 years, it's been kind of like this constant, like just working different venues all the time. I rarely have a week off. That you actually got me. This was a week I was supposed to be on a cruise ship, but for some reason I found out 2 days ago that they canceled. So I have a week off. So this is my first week off, and I want to say like 9 years.
Wow.
Aside from like Christmas, like this is just like the first week off. I'm in New York and I don't have to go anywhere. It's really nice. So that was kind of like my history in a nutshell, but I'm sure I missed a bunch of stuff.
No, that's good. So, I mean, I'm just kind of curious, moving out to New York like that and going through college, and you kind of, I don't want to say stumble, but you kind of slowly are starting to make your way in building up your career. Did you have a mentor early? Did you have somebody that kind of helped you through that process at all?
Yeah. So when I was younger, so when I was younger, I looked up to the only like variety acts I knew of who were like working jugglers when I was younger, like the Loon. He's a guy in Madison. TR Loon is his name. He's still working today. Mark Hayward, really funny yo-yo guy who also was in Wisconsin for a while. But when I moved to New York, there wasn't really anyone doing what I wanted to do in the way I wanted to do it that could show me the ropes, because it's such a weird thing. Like there's not a lot of jugglers. There's way more magicians and stuff than there are jugglers working today. So I really didn't have anyone saying, hey, if you want to be a comedian and a juggler, these are the steps you need to follow. It was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of me reaching out to people who were doing what I wanted to do and say, hey, how do you do that? But then you have to think, well, wait, I'm kind of asking them for their job, or like, how do you get your job? And that's a weird place to be in too, because like that happens to me now, and people will email me and they'll say, hey man, I want to perform on cruise ships. How do I do that? I'm a comedian and a juggler too. I'm like, well, hold on, man. That's I'm doing that now too. Like we can't like, well, and so what I do is thankfully I have enough good relationships with these cruise lines that I'm able to offer, to give really good advice that I would have been happy to get when I was younger people. But when I was growing up, it was really trial and error and trying to see, I made a lot of mistakes, with it, because I didn't have a business degree, but you learn very quickly what works and what doesn't work. I put together like a press kit that had photos, press clippings. I'm sure it included the rock star of juggler quote. I had a VHS tapes and I would make DVDs. Part of the reason I went to film school was to learn how to edit a promo video of my show so I could put that together and send it to the cruise lines. Because when I was younger, being a cruise line performer, an entertainer on a cruise ship, was like the apex of a juggling career. It was like the highlight. Because when I was younger, there was another juggler I would hang out with who lived in my small little town. And he was like performing on cruise ships, and I was so in awe of that. Like, wow, you're living the life, man. You're traveling the world, making money. But not only that, you get to perform and live your dream. So that was really, inspirational for me to see that. So I would try my best to kind of fake it till you make it in a way.
Because I'm kind of thinking like, Chrissy's a lawyer, I'm a pilot. We have definite kind of paths. Yeah, there's some different ways you can take to get there. And I'm even thinking about like with comedians, like I watched a really good documentary of Jerry Seinfeld after the Seinfeld show finished, where he was kind of building his show back up. And there's the comedy clubs for comedians to kind of, build their career. And I'm thinking about you, and you're really out there. You're like, kind of developing. Yeah, there's other people that have done it, but you're kind of developing where you want to be. And in my opinion, kind of taking it to the next level. And I think that's really cool and a lot of work.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a very big compliment. Thank you. I try really hard to push beyond what other comedians and comedy jugglers have done before. A lot of them will just settle. Not a lot of them, but some people they'll settle at doing one certain thing, or they'll just be like, you know what, I'm just going to perform at colleges. Or I'm only going to perform at cruise ships. But to me, I say, why stop there? Go bigger. Go better. Try to improve your show. I am always trying to, figure out what the next place is for me that I want to perform at. And I've been doing cruise ships for close to, I want to say 12 years since I'm terrible at math, like 2007. So right now it's like, okay, so I've done cruise ships. They were a lot of fun. I still enjoy doing them, but soon they're going to stop being fun. Then what am I going to want to do?
Right. What's the next thing?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we talk,
so I am working on that. I am like trying to plant the seeds right now to figure out what the next step is. But I think I'll always be performing on cruise ships if they're still fun, and if they'll still have me, of course.
Well, before we kind of move into like your show and kind of the characteristics of your show, let's talk about the cruise ships a little bit. Had you been on a cruise before you actually performed on one?
No. The first time I was on a cruise ship was the first time I performed on one. It was the Princess Coral, which is a smaller princess ship. I want to say maybe it's like 2,100 guests on that ship. And I remember they flew me to Aruba, and I stayed overnight at the Renaissance Hotel in Aruba. And then I woke up in that morning, looked out my window, and I saw this big, massive ship. Like, you could see it from the hotel. And I got super nervous. I was like, oh my gosh. And if you know my show, if you've seen me on ships or if you've seen videos of me, you know my show right now has, like, I know what I'm doing, like it's a lot. But if you watch like the first few shows I've done when I first got on a cruise ship, you would have just like cringed the whole show. I can't even watch my show back then. It was completely different. My style of performing was way different. The character I was different, but I was still developing. I was very thankful that I got to cut my teeth on, is that the right expression? I don't know. I'm not really good at languages, but I got to learn from stage, learn while doing it. And that's something that is hard for a performer. You'll see a lot of comedians, like you mentioned, Jerry Seinfeld, who'll go, when he was writing his act, he went to a bunch of different comedy clubs. But when you're a variety performer or a juggler trying your act, you kind of have to get booked and at professional gigs to try it out. There's not like a comedy club I can go to and say, okay, here's a 45-minute juggling show. I hope you like it.
And then tweak it from there and take it on So
yeah, I mean, thankfully I was able to do my show and people did like it. I wasn't saying I was terrible, but I wasn't like, I wouldn't, I don't want to see any video of it. I don't want to be reminded of that. You grow and you learn and you adapt and you change and you make better decisions on stage and you become funnier and you write new lines and you take out stock and you just, you become better. I didn't have my 10,000 hours at the time but I think now I do.
When was your first contract with Princess? When was that?
I think that was in 2007.
Oh, you had said that. Okay.
And the only way, I think,
whatever.
I think I may have said it, but it's so funny. So I was at home with my parents. My dad worked in administration at schools, and he was a superintendent, and I was talking to his principal, and his principal was telling me that his cousin books the entertainment for Princess Cruise Lines. And so I was like, wait, what? I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, here I am. Like, I was like 21 years old. I was like, so I was like, hey, can you give me their information? So I did. I got the information and I sent them an email, even though I did already have an agent, but I sent them an email, and then maybe they booked me because they felt like they had to do a favor for my dad's principal at the time or something. But anyway, I think that probably helped me get my first booking.
It's all about who you know.
It's all about who you know. It really is today. It's all timing, luck, who you know. Yep, absolutely.
It really is. So then you had that first gig. Mm-hmm. Did you then get a bunch of repeat performances with Princess?
I did, yes. So I booked that gig, and I think I booked that gig and then 3 others. So I was on the Coral Princess, the Island Princess, the Grand Princess, and back to the Coral. So they booked me for like 4 contracts. And then I did a bit on David Letterman's show, and that got me years of work on Royal Caribbean and on a little bit on Carnival. And that really opened some doors too.
And then how did Disney eventually get to you, or how did you eventually get to Disney?
Disney, yeah. So I was working pretty consistently on Royal Caribbean and on Carnival. But I was telling my agent, like, listen, like, I'm doing the same thing now for like the last 6 years. I would love to try some other lines, just see what they're like. Mm. And she's like, okay, my agent, her name's Dominique. She said, okay, we're putting together a showcase for some of our newer acts to perform for the cruise line so they can like just start getting booked on cruise ships. But why don't you close out the show? You're like you've been working consistently for a while, close out the show. And hopefully other lines will see you and they'll want to book you. And I said, okay. So this showcase, how they go is they get like 30 acts. You all do 5 to 7 minutes, maybe 8 minutes. And at the end of the night, everyone's really tired and it's a long show. But you see really good acts. And I went in, I closed out the show, and I didn't really need to impress anybody because I was already working. And so I didn't take it too seriously. And I think that's what really caught people's eye. They were like, who's this guy who doesn't really care if he's here or not? Like, I still put on a good show, but the jokes I made were kind of self-deprecating. And, you know, it was just like, it was completely different from what they had seen earlier. They were watching a lot of singers and dancers, and a few comedians. And here I am just like, okay, whatever. You need me to be on your ship, I'll do it, whatever, you know. But that's where Disney first saw me. And and then immediately, I think the next day, I think I was working with Carnival, and at the time, and Carnival sent me a bunch of other bookings trying to keep me with them. I mean, you can work other cruise lines when you work with any of them. I don't think anyone has a contract that says you have to be exclusive. We're independent contractors, so we can work pretty much anywhere. But I did get a lot more dates from Carnival and from Royal Caribbean then. And they're like, well, let's keep them with us. But then Disney did express interest. And with Disney, you kind of try. I remember I got one booking with Disney, and I was like, okay, this is exciting. It was Port Canaveral to Port Canaveral. Was a 5-day cruise. I remember Dominique, my agent, calling me maybe like a couple days out and saying, hey, so Disney's a different beast. Like, they're not everything you do on Carnival or Royal or your show in New York is going to work well on Disney. But you're going to have to kind of play it by ear, figure it out when you get there, read the audience. And I said, okay. And she's like, everything should be pretty squeaky clean. It's Disney. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And she was like, you have an adult show, a family show, and then a welcome show. And at the time, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so much material. At the time, I was only doing a 45-minute to an hour show, just one, a full show. And I would do that maybe 2 times a night on Royal Caribbean or something like that, or Princess or Celebrity, or just one show. But on Disney, they want a 45-minute family show, then a 30-minute adult show, and then a 15-minute show for the welcome aboard or the farewell show. I'm like, whoa, this is a lot of material. So I wrote some new bits only for Disney. And my first Disney, I was so nervous, but thankfully I did the welcome show, and I don't know how word got out so fast, but I came back to my cabin after the welcome show, and I still had cell service because we were sailing out of Port Canaveral, so it takes a while before you actually lose cell phone service. But my agent texted me, Dominique, she was like, great job. I heard you did so well in the welcome show. Keep it going. So that made me like feel a little bit better. I was like, okay, they get me. They understand my humor. Things are going to be good. So then I was what's called the B Act, which is on Disney. Sometimes there'll be like maybe up to four variety acts each sailing. Now this changes. If you take a Disney cruise and you only see 2, sometimes there's only 2, sometimes there's only 1. But you'll have like an A act and a B act. The A act is in the Walt Disney Theater, and the B act is in like the cabaret room. Now sometimes it doesn't mean you're better than someone else if you're an A act or a B act. It just means that's where they scheduled you. It doesn't have anything to do with how good you are, or how, if you're not ready for the theater. Everyone who performs on Disney is like strongly vetted. So you'll be okay. They know what they're doing, and they say for this week it'll be better if Marcus is in the Walt Disney Theater. This week it'll be better if he's in the cabaret room. It does not matter. But it's just called like the A act or the B act. Make sense?
Yep.
You got it?
Yep.
So on the first week I was a B act, which I was like thankful for, because I was like, okay, it's less pressure to me, at least, to be in the cabaret room. You usually only have to do your family show like a matinee, and then maybe at like 7:30 in between dinners and the show. And then I did my adult show, and it went really well. And I got off the ship, and my agent was like, I think that went well. I think you're going to get more offers from Disney. So, a couple of weeks go by, I get nothing. But then like a couple months later, I got an email with like Disney offers 2013 or 2014. And they just kept flooding me with work, and it was really, really great. And as time went on, I was able to adapt the show because, just like Princess, my first show in 2007, my first show on Disney is nothing like what it is today on Disney. And I'm always trying to change it and adapt. And, a lot of people, as you know, are repeat cruisers on Disney, and they see a lot of the same acts sometimes. And a lot of people will come up to me and they'll show me photos at the meet and greet, and they'll say, oh, we saw you last year. And I'm like, oh no. So it makes me want to work harder to change the material I do, so they're not seeing the same show over and over and over again.
Well, that makes sense.
So let's talk about your show a little bit. we were lucky enough to see you in the Walt Disney Theater this time on the Fantasy.
Oh, great!
And
great.
Well, I guess before that, which ships have you sailed on? You've been on the Fantasy. Have you been on any of the other ones?
I've done all of them. Yeah, I've done all of the Disney ships.
Okay.
I mean, there's 4, so it's not that many, but yeah,
right.
I've done all of them. Mm-hmm.
And have you sailed out of any place besides Port Canaveral, or have you been over to Europe or done any shows there?
Yeah, not on Disney, but I've been to Israel and Turkey,
wow,
Australia, and even Hawaii on cruise ships. But for Disney, it's pretty much only been in the Caribbean or like the Western, like Cabo, that area.
Let's talk about your show a little bit. We saw the theater was packed, and
awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing. You just did it, and I wanted to throw this out there. We've got a small group that kind of support our show. One of the members put out, I let him know that we were going to interview you today, and he said Marcus is the best variety act I've ever seen on a cruise, and he's been on a lot of
Oh my
cruises,
gosh, that's so sweet.
So I wanted to pass it on.
So nice.
Yeah, I wanted to pass that on to you, but your show, you are so charismatic, and you bring the audience in, and you react with the audience. What's that like? I mean, I guess I'm trying to find the question here. Let me ask that question again. So
sure.
What I was trying to say was you're really charismatic up on stage, and you do an excellent job reading and responding to your audience. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges of that, the excitement of bringing your audience members up on stage, and maybe some of the challenges of that?
Sure. So I love interacting with the audience. It makes every show completely different, even if you follow a script kind of loosely, which I kind of do at times. You need to follow script so the sound guy and or girl or the lighting people know your cues. So you can't deviate too far from that. But having people up on stage means this experience is going to be different, and people in the audience can say, I was at that show when Marcus had this kid up on stage who did this. I was at that show when this didn't go right for Marcus, but he was able to adapt to it. I was at that show when everything did go right and everyone loved it. So bringing people up from the audience and interacting with them is really special to me because you're opening the door for so many opportunities to happen that you can't write, you can't plan, you can't really even prepare for.
But I think that says a lot about you and your performance is being able to respond to that and respond to it quickly, and for the show to continue on. And that's what's amazing.
I love that. I love being able to. This is going to sound bad, but I love putting myself in awkward and bad situations on stage because it's a time for me to test my abilities as a performer to see how I can get out of a jam. It's also fun for the audience if they're on your side. It's important to see if they'll be able to help you get you out of that jam, and they want to support you and they want to root for you. The character I play on stage isn't far off from who I really am as a person. It's kind of a tug of war vulnerability. I'm trying my best with my juggling technique. I take it up all the way to a 10 when I'm on stage, and that's why sometimes I'll drop a ball or a club or a ring. But my skill level on the ships is so high that I have to push myself. I have to keep it at that level. And of course, mistakes are going to happen. But I don't think people really care so much if a mistake happens. They want to see someone on stage who's having fun and who's enjoying themselves. And when they see that, I think that's a very magnetic almost feeling. And it's, what's the word, Steve? Like, you're having fun, then I'm having fun. It's like,
I can't think of the word either, but I totally know what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay, great. So like, it's just like that. Like
it's that mutual kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and like I want to put on a good show too. Like I care about it so much. I flew halfway. I flew 8 hours to be there. I travel with my wife, who actually stage manages the show. I want to. I want to put on a good show, so I care so much about it. So maybe I try too hard. I don't know, but it's very fun. I love it. I love those spontaneous moments I have with the audience. I know some people just want to do their thing and not worry about if their audience cares or if they respond one way or the other. But for me, it means everything, and it means everything that you said. That some guy said that was the best variety act. Those were your words, not mine. But like that means so much to me because I do really try my best to make sure that this is an act that if I was in the audience, I would want to watch it.
And I think it's that interaction. I mean, being an audience member and seeing you interact with the audience and with us and kind of include us in the show is what really, brings your show, in my mind, to another level than some of the other ones that you watch. So I think you're doing an awesome job with it. And
thank you, Steve.
Yeah. So I guess my son's had a couple questions. His favorite,
I love it.
His favorite thing that he saw you do was juggle when you turn the lights down and you've got the different balls, or I think it was balls that you were using, that glow in the dark. Is that harder to do? He wanted to know, is it harder to do at night, with the lights out versus when they're on?
Yeah. So I have these glow in the, like the balls, they have like these LED lights in them that just strobe.
Yeah,
and then I have these clubs that my wife is actually side of the stage, and she's changing the colors with the remote. So she's like, not only the colors, but the pattern. They're like these new high-end expensive clubs. And then at the end of that, I have these poi sticks that I spin around myself, and they start with patterns, but then they morph into Disney characters while I'm spinning them. So you see like this great big light show. So to answer your son's question, which is, first of all, a great question, it's not, I don't have to change the way I learned how to juggle to do it, but sometimes it's a little bit of brain games, like your mind's playing tricks on you, because you're just looking at these spinning lights and you can get a little dizzy if you don't like blink and close your eyes, and you have to kind of stay focused on where the ball actually is and not watch the trail of light that emits from the ball. So it's something you have to get used to, but it's not as, and you can't see your hands either. Like there's no looking, and like, you might be able to see like a shadow of your hand. But when you're juggling, you're not really looking at your hands anyways. You're focusing on the tops of your props. So yeah, for one way, it is harder to do because you have to adapt to so many different things. And I also don't want to fall off the stage, which could definitely happen. I feel like, if I'm walking with a pattern, I don't know where the end of the stage is. It's happened before, not to me, but other performers have fallen in a routine similar to that. But yeah, it's hard. We just adapt to it and move on.
Not to mention with the ship rocking sometimes too. I suppose that's a little challenge.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's especially the ship rocking has only made a real difference during my bowl spinning act and the unicycle. When I'm juggling on stage, it can make a difference, but I can just take down the technical level and I'll be okay. But when I'm on the unicycle or when I'm spinning bowls, it is hard to keep a balance. It's out of my control at that point.
Let me just say I'm in awe. And I'm definitely hoping that you'll be on one of my future cruises so I can check it out.
I hope so. Oh, I would love that. Please come say hi after if you are. It'd be great.
Oh, for sure.
So I saw that you have performed with Neil Patrick Harris before.
Mm-hmm.
In the show that we saw, you're a single performer. Do you ever get to perform with other people while you're on the cruise ships, or do you generally just perform by yourself?
While I'm on the ships, it's usually just myself. However, sometimes some of my close friends happen to be working on the ships as well, and then I'm able to do like a little bit in the show with them. Like an example would be Buckets and Boards. I don't know if you've ever cruised with those two, Gareth and Matt, but they're great, two great guys, good friends of mine, and we have performed. I'll like help. I'll like make an appearance in their adult show or something, or they'll come to my adult show. But really, I think we kind of just stick to our own shows when we're on Disney, and then just hang out in our off time.
And then the last one I had was just kind of in a general one, and you've kind of talked about this, but how does a Disney audience, cruise ship audience, compare to some of the other audiences you deal with? Do you like
Disney's great?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I do. I really do. I never thought that I would love the Disney audience as much as I do. When I was in my early 20s, which was only a few years ago, I was very focused on trying to be like the cool, hip juggler. And like, no, I'm not an act for families. I'm an act for adults. And then as I got older, I was like, no, like I started juggling because I saw another kid juggle. And I was like, I need to, and I can still be an act for adults and inspire kids, and I can be an act for everybody. So that's why I love Disney so much, is because you have newlyweds in their 20s taking their honeymoon on Disney, right? Mm-hmm. You have family reunions on Disney. You have of course, you have tons of kids, but you also have just like groups of friends hanging out who want to see like a Star Wars Day at Sea or something. Just, you have everybody on Disney, and it's so inclusive. And that's why I think Disney is great for everybody, because you have all ages, all races, all different types of people from all over the world. They come to sail on Disney. And so it's really just a great eclectic group of people who are in the audience, and they're in the audience because Disney is an entertainment company. You're not, a lot of other cruise lines are a cruise line company that have entertainment, but Disney is an entertainment company that has a cruise line. So like that alone, they're there because their shows are good. They know their shows are going to be, not just the variety act shows, but the production shows or Broadway style shows are going to be a step above the rest, just because it just happens to be an entertainment company. So I love performing on Disney for that reason. I think the energy in the crowd is great. I will say, though, that performing on other lines, I do have great shows as well. And whenever I get to perform, even if it's for 4 people or 4,000 people, I'm very lucky and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do what I love for a living. It doesn't matter how many people are in the audience. I know that I'm very lucky to do what I do.
Wow, that's really nice. It's kind of hard to come up with like a good question that could follow that really nice sentiment. So. Oh
no! Try it. Try it. See what happens.
All right.
If it's bad, I'll hang up.
Well, no. From the shows, let's kind of segue to like just a lot of the curious questions that I think people want to ask or that want to know about being a performer on the show.
I love it.
Let's segue to some questions that I think a lot of people just want to know about what it's like to be a performer on the ship. And Christy, why don't you start off?
So it sounds like with Disney, because you have to do an opening or a closing show, you are there for the whole cruise. But is that the way it is with all the other cruise lines at this point? Or do you have a say in that, or do they tell you?
Good question. So on Disney, I usually am on for 6 to 7 nights, usually starting at the back end of a cruise and then the beginning of the next cruise. So I'm only on one cruise for like 4 days. And then everyone gets off, including me. I have to get off, go through customs. Then we'll recheck, stay in the same room. But then we'll come back on for another 3 days or 4 days, whatever it is. Now, there are some times when we'll do just a half week and just be on for 3 or 4 days. And those, of course, are nice because you get to just be home more. But then other cruise lines are really different. Carnival will have me just for one night. I'll fly in, I'll do my show, and then I'll fly out the next day. That's nice because I get to have time for other bookings and stuff like that. Princess and Royal Caribbean will usually have me there for like 2 to 3 nights, maybe 4. I think So most cruise lines will keep you there, I'd say an average of like 5 nights, just like across the board. But there are those rare instances like on Carnival where you're just there for 1 night, you're in and you're out, which is great. It's like a college gig. It's like just doing a gig in a theater, which I do. I do a lot of colleges and comedy clubs, and it's just in and out, and that's great.
And then does your agent handle your calendaring, or do you do that?
It's a little bit of both. So in fact, today she just sent me Disney offers for 2020, and I kind of look at them and see
how far into the fall.
So I got booked through end of September for 2020, but I don't have anything confirmed yet. So what that means, like I can't really get into this too much, but for this instance, but Disney is booking a little bit differently now. They're variety acts. And so I have to look at my calendar, see what I already have booked, because I do have dates all the way out for till like December 2020 at this point, not on cruise ships, but on like corporate shows and theater shows on land. So yeah, I have a Google Calendar I share with my agent, and it just has my conflicts, my other shows in there, and then I just tell them to like just fill my dates if they can. So that's basically what they do, and then they'll send me an email and say, "Can you confirm this?" And I'll look at the routing, see if it makes sense with where I'm going, where I've been, and I'll say yes. And I also have to make sure I don't like overexert myself and get. I have a problem with saying yes to everything.
It sounds like it because you've taken no vacations in the last year.
Yeah, well, when you're a juggler, you take the gigs. Like there's a lot of jugglers who don't have the ability to to say no or to pass on a gig. And I know because I was that guy very recently. I needed all the work I could get. And I live in New York City. I have an expensive apartment. You know, I have a wife. I'm just saying, like, it's like I don't have like an expensive lifestyle or anything, but living in New York alone is pretty expensive. So, you know, I have to pay for that. I have to pay for my own health insurance, all this stuff. I don't get any benefits, of course. So there's a lot of expenses that go into it. So, yeah, I just have a calendar, and my agent will look at it and try to fill it up as best as they can. Same with my college agent. When I play colleges, they'll try to do a lot of block booking, which means they'll try to book me, you know, I recently did 8 days, 7 shows in 8 days, and I was driving like 8 hours to get to each college date.
Well, that sounds like a horrible scheduling.
It does, but I loved it. Like I love different venues, and I love seeing the country and performing. And there was time when we were both cursing my agents for this booking, but I did say yes to the work, so I can't really blame them. And you know, like I said, I'm very humbled and thankful and grateful for all the work I get.
So back to the ships. There's a couple other questions people had. What kind of staterooms do you guys get?
Oh, so on Disney, we're just in a normal guest room.
Okay.
Usually it'll have a nice window. I've yet to have one on Disney with a balcony, although I know one person who has, and I was in his room the whole time. We were in Alaska, and it was one of the Buckets and Boards guys. They usually, I think, will share a room, but they had an extra opening, so they gave it to him. So it wasn't like he demanded it or anything, but it was great. Yeah, they treat us so well. They really, really do. It's great.
And what are some of the things that you like to do in your free time, like say at a sea day or something like that? What are some of the things you like to do around the ship?
So my answer is going to differ for if I already performed on the ship or not. If I've performed on the ship, then I like to try to keep a really low profile because I kind of have long hair. I'm fairly tall, very easily recognizable around the ship. And sometimes I just want to keep, you know, I don't want to draw attention to myself. Sometimes when I was younger, I really liked attention, but as I'm getting older, you know, like I kind of do it. I leave it all on the stage, as they say, and like, you know, I get my outlet, I get my attention out on the stage. So I'll go. Wife and I will find a quiet place to read. We'll play games. We'll listen to podcasts. We work out on a sea day. What else? If there's another cool variety act on with us, we'll, you know, have meals with them. We sometimes joke that we just kind of go to the dining room for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and like we'll just, you know, we'll have breakfast. And then like we'll come back in an hour for lunch. Like we kind of just like treat ourselves. We kind of just have fun, and we try to be productive though as possible. Like we'll, you know, bring books or listen to podcasts that we're interested in. I'll edit videos. Just try to, you know, every cruise is different depending on what's coming up next. Sometimes we'll have to prepare for other gigs. Sometimes I'll have auditions in the city that I have to memorize lines for. So it's really just, it's just normal stuff. Sometimes we'll look at the Navigator and we'll be like, oh, let's go watch the baby races. Like we love that. Like we'll sometimes we'll sit in the back and play trivia. Yeah, just have fun. And we just really enjoy like our time away from the city, but together. It's like my wife and I always say, it's like a time for us to like reconnect in a way, because in New York we're so go, getting our errands done, you know, seeing our friends, but like when we're on the ship, it's time for us, like it's just the two of us, so it's really fun to like just, you know, have a meal together and not worry about like who's calling me, who's texting me, turn our phones off and just kind of have fun.
So what are your favorite destinations? What's your favorite place that you've been to?
Best question yet. Thank you. Alaska for sure is like our top. It's just so different from where we've been in the Caribbean. You know, we've been to the Caribbean so many times. We love it. But Alaska, there's just something beautiful about it and majestic. And if you know me, I'm obsessed with humpback whales. So going to Alaska and just like my wife and I are up at 6 a.m. every day, and we're just on deck 4 looking for whales, and like we're there, you know, till the sun goes down at like 2 a.m. or whatever ridiculous time it goes down in Alaska. We love it. See, in like the Caribbean, not Caribbean, but we like Bermuda just because it's also so different. But my wife and I honeymooned in St. Martin So that has like a special place in our hearts. We like it there. Yeah, it's fun. There's so many places, and each place we go, we usually try and find something to do. So every time we go there, we kind of do the same thing in a way. Like we'll find, if I don't have shows, we'll find a good resort that has like a all-inclusive day pass or something. If I have shows, It's a different story. Can't drink, so you have to take just relax in other ways. And sometimes we'll just stay on the ship, and it's fun on a port day to have the ship to yourself.
Do you have a favorite ship or any cruise line?
I think I like the Wonder on Disney Wonder. I think because that goes to Alaska.
Steve and I both really love Alaska too. So.
Oh, great! Yes,
we are pro Alaska camp over here.
Steve, I bet you're in Alaska a lot, right? Since you fly there.
Yeah, it's in namesake only. In all honesty, yeah. So I'm based in Portland, so most of my stuff is I'm East Coast or Hawaii usually mostly. So we don't get up to Alaska as much, but yeah, it's a beautiful state, just amazing.
I love it. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
What was the question? I forgot.
Your favorite ship?
Oh, okay. I love the Magic and the Wonder because Azure and Fathoms they're a great cabaret room. When I'm doing my adult show, I love that room for it. But I love the Fantasy as well because the Walt Disney Theater is just so much bigger on the Fantasy than the Wonder and the Magic. How's that for like a good answer? Like every ship's my favorite.
So every Disney ship is my favorite.
Yeah, the Dream you have to perform in front, and the Walt Disney Theater you have to perform in front of the red curtain, so it doesn't give you as much space to play, but then it forces you to perform downstage closer to the audience, which I do like as well.
What is that rule about?
So that is because Beauty and the Beast, it has such an elaborate set that they need, they set it up the day before so they can, they just need it the day before.
And their cruises are so short.
Exactly. Their cruises are so short that they need that space. But it's fine. My show still works really well on the Dream. I have fun. But I think the smaller Disney ships, the cabaret rooms are great. But like to answer, like the Walt Disney Theater on the Fantasy is amazing.
Do the cruise lines give you an expense account type limit, or is it you just get paid and however you spend any other money on board or anything, it's on you?
Exactly. Yeah. So most cruise lines will give you some like discounts for drinks. Usually it's like 10% off or something. Like it really doesn't cover anything more than gratuity. Disney will sometimes give you a little bit. They'll give you like X amount of dollars for the week, but it's really not more than like 2 drinks amount for 2. It's really nice that they do that, but it's not like an incentive to like go to the bar all the time. And we don't get discounts for what we buy. So we're just normal passengers for the most part.
Well, passengers.
They will cover like our travel and our, that stuff they do cover, of course.
Do they give you more internet minutes than the 50 megabytes for your first day's download?
I think they do. Yes. We are allowed to have crew internet privileges. I don't know if that's changing or not, but for now we can have crew internet privileges. That's correct. Yes.
Are you hoping to work the new ships?
Oh yeah, I really, really want to. I haven't heard too much about them. Like I think they're kind of keeping them on like the interior secrets on the DL. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know.
No, they are big time.
Yeah, I don't know. Big time. Okay, yeah. So I don't know much about them. I was talking to Trent, one of the cruise directors, Trent Hitchcock, and I was like, "Tell me something." He's like, "I can't tell you anything, man." I'm like, he's like, "All I can tell you is that you're going to be happy." So I'm like, "Okay, well, I don't know what that means." I don't know. So maybe he doesn't know, and he's pretending that. But yeah, I'm really excited to perform. Like I said, I don't care where I am. If I can perform, I'll be a happy guy.
For you kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, Marcus, but for somebody who wants to get into juggling and just your type of performance, any advice that you could give somebody like that to kind of lead them on their way, to start them on their way, or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I would just say try to be as individual as you possibly can. I think people don't want to see another version of me, another version of anybody else. They just want to see what your interpretation of juggling or magic or comedy is. So my advice would be to just find out who you are as a person, what matters to you. And then when you create an act, try and think of, okay, well, if I was in the audience watching this performer, what would I like to see them do? How would I like to see them act? And that's kind of how I go about writing, my writing process. But I would also say when I was, 9, 10, learning how to juggle, I didn't have YouTube. There wasn't YouTube at the time. And there's so many great acts on YouTube that you can watch, that you can learn from. I'm not saying take from, but you can learn from. And you can learn quicker, and there's tons of tutorials that can teach you how to juggle, how to do magic, how to do comedy, anything like that. So I think it's a great time if you're a kid and you're listening to this, or if you're an adult and you want to learn how to do magic or juggling. You're never too old to learn how to do any of this stuff. Like, it really is something you can do for the rest of your life, because you control what your physical limitations are, but you can. I know guys in their 80s who are still learning how to juggle and still improving on, and it's so fun to watch.
I guess I do have one other quick question. You talked about magic before. Have you ever performed at the Magic Castle in LA?
So that's so I am. This kind of goes into like what's next for me.
Okay.
But I'm working on. I have not performed at the Magic Castle. I have been there, but I am currently working on trying to figure out a week where I can perform there, because I'm working on a show with my best friend, Ben Seidman, who is a really, really good magician. We actually grew up together, been best friends since we were 12. He lives in LA. I live in New York. He's a comedy magician. I do juggling. So we wrote a show called The Best Friends Show, or The Best Friends Tour. And that's where I was in Detroit playing. That's where I was in Milwaukee last week. And we're going to Nebraska in 2 weeks to play our show. And then we're going to be in, I think actually Seattle in August, perhaps. And then Columbus, Ohio. We're taking it on the road. So hopefully within the next couple of months, we will have our Magic Castle date locked in. But that would be great. I've been there before and I love it. I think it's awesome.
A friend of mine's a member of the Magic Castle, and we went with him probably about a year ago, and that place is amazing. Yeah.
Oh, great. Do you remember who you saw?
No. Which is
it's okay. It's okay. I mean, if you're not a magician, you're really not going to remember who it is, I don't think. Unless it was someone famous, but it's great. I love it there.
And my friend Dave,
awesome.
My friend Dave would kill me because he knows all the magicians. He's been a magician kind of like you, or he started off when he was 9. He did birthday parties, and he still does magic when he flies.
Who is it? What's his name? David who?
Well, I mean, he's never performed like you have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's one of our pilots. I've known him forever. But
awesome.
He does magic tricks for the kids on the plane sometimes and whatnot.
Really?
So.
Does he do magic in the cockpit?
Yeah, he does.
Really? That's awesome. So wait, can I ask you a few quick questions about being a pilot and real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so so forgive me if you've answered these already on the podcast, because I know you did. I think you did maybe a podcast where you talked about this. But so when you're on like a really long flight, say you're going from like Portland to Maui or to Hawaii or something, like what do you do to pass time?
So you talk a lot about everything. Yeah. So kind of solve the world's problems a lot. Talk about investing. It kind of really depends upon who the person is. Like the last person that I just flew with yesterday, we came back from Orlando. He's into building his own business right now. He lives over in Bend, Oregon. And so he is working with this company that's building a new plane, and he's kind of building his own independent kind of contracting where he's going to teach people how to fly it. And then he's going to buy and sell planes. So really, what I find most interesting about it is like a lot of us are into a lot of different things, so it's kind of cool to hear what people are into. So you do a lot of that. Then we have.
Do you ever get into like a heated argument about like politics, and then you have to like fly with this guy for the next 6 hours? And like, oh gosh, I don't want to be with Jerry anymore. And you have to like call Alaska and be like, can you not set me up with Jerry anymore? He's really weird.
That does happen. It does. I'll talk about anything, and I don't take anything personally. So for me, it's not. I don't get into those situations. Most people stay away from sex. Most people stay away from talking about sex, politics, and religion. So if you stay away from those 3 topics, usually you're pretty good. But
see, that's the most interesting stuff, though.
Right.
I know.
If you have 7 hours to spend with another guy or girl, like, wouldn't you like? Oh, but I guess everything's recorded too, right?
Yeah. Well, it's on a loop for an hour, and then it tapes over itself. So yeah.
Do you ever say something you regret? Then like, I just can't wait for the next hour to be over. So then okay, good. It's clear.
There's a little erase button up there, so you can press it up there, and then it sets it back to
no, there can't be.
Yeah. So, but it only works while you're on the ground.
We're learning, Christy. We're learning.
You got to wait till you get on the ground to hit it. So there you go.
And then who do you pick is your co-pilot? Or do they pick it for you?
No. So what you do is like everybody bids. It's all on a seniority system. So each month you bid a schedule, and then whatever you hold, and whatever he or she holds, they hold with you. And then we have a couple of weeks where we can trade trips around. So if like I don't want to do this trip, I want to do that one over there, you can try and trade your trips around. And then so people are always constantly, trading and picking up things. Like the last trip I just did, I was supposed to go to DC, and I traded it into an Orlando trip at the last minute. So
what about your brother? Does that?
Well, I've got like 8 more DC trips this month, so I'm going to see him. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I love that. I was on a flight one time, and I'm sure you get like people just like think you want to hear their flight stories, but here goes one. We were on the gate, we were delayed for some reason, and then we pushed off from the gate, but then something happened where they had to go back to the gate, and they fixed something, but then the crew couldn't work because like when you push off from the gate and you come back, it counts as like a flight or something.
Mm-hmm.
So then we had to wait for a whole new crew to come.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not really good at telling stories.
Marcus, the story that did not sell anybody for your show.
No, it did not. I did nothing there.
Actually, maybe it did, because they're like, this can't possibly be. Now I have to go see what he's like in person.
No, I think
it really is just a bunch of okay. So
I think it goes back to where your audition with Disney, where you're like, yeah, whatever. If you want me to perform, I will.
Yeah.
Well, and they were like, yes, we want that guy.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think like another bit of advice for like young performers out there is just don't take yourself too seriously. It's really like kind of hard to watch when you have these other performers and they're just like really trying too hard and they take themselves too seriously. It's just have fun, and then that is like that'll rub off on everyone else.
I think that goes for everybody in life. You just gotta have fun.
I think so too.
So yeah,
I agree.
Well, as we finish up, Marcus, what's next for you? You kind of talked about the Magic Castle. Where can people find you? You're on a tour with your friend Ben Seidemann.
Yeah.
Beyond that, where else can people find you?
Well, I'm actually going to be, I think, in Michigan in August. I'm doing a bunch of colleges this fall. So they can go to marcusmonroe.com, and I try to put up all my dates as soon as I get them. Of course, I'll be on Disney Cruise Lines for a lot of the year and a lot of next year. Other cruise lines, comedy clubs. I'm on tour with TJ Miller right now as well. So he's a comedian and playing a bunch of clubs dates with him. Instagram at Marcus Juggles, Twitter at Marcus Monroe, Facebook.com/Marcus Juggles. I think that's about it. I'm just happy to be here. Thank you guys for listening, and thanks for talking to me. I thought, Christy, it was great to meet you. And Steve, thank you for your questions. Both of you, thank you for your questions. It was really great.
Definitely. And I just want to throw this last thing out here. My youngest son actually did a comedy show for his talent show, and I don't think he would have done that if it wasn't for the fact that at the end of your show, you kind of got in the front lobby there, and you give a chance for all the people that want to come up and meet you to meet you, and that made a big impression on him. And he's like, you know what? I want to do what Marcus did. He didn't juggle. He wanted to tell comedy, and he got up.
That's great.
Yeah, just a week ago at their little elementary talent show and did a little comedy routine. So,
awesome.
I just want to throw that out there to you. Like, you made a huge difference in his life. Your show is amazing. I really want to encourage anybody that can go over to your website and find you and get out and see you. If you're not going to be able to catch your show on a Disney Cruise Line ship anytime soon, there's a lot of other opportunities out there as well. So thank you so much, Marcus, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. That means a lot to me. That's going to make me feel good throughout the day. So I love hearing stories like that, because I think when you're young and you can get up in front of people and tell jokes, make people laugh, like that's really something special. So thank you so much, Steve. That's great. Good for him.
Definitely. And we'll stay in touch. We'd love to have you come back on the show sometime and talk about more of your experiences sailing with Disney Cruise Line and some of the other cruises.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, have a great day and have a great workout, and we'll talk to you soon, Marcus.
Thanks. You guys too. Thank you. Bye, Christy.
Bye.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. I really want to thank Marcus for coming on. What just an amazing look inside what it's like to be a performer on the Disney cruise ships, and kind of getting his backstory as well, and just the amazing job he's done building his career as a comedian juggler. Look for him on the Fantasy. He's going to be out several times this summer, and then also back on as it moves into the fall and into 2020. So if you're on board the Fantasy, make sure you don't miss Marcus. And if you want to find out a little bit more about him and other different places that you can see him if you're not going to be traveling on the Fantasy soon, once again, go to marcusmonroe.com, and it's got all the information about his upcoming schedule and ways to connect with Marcus. So once again, Marcus, thank you so much for coming on. We sure do appreciate it. if you are enjoying what you're hearing and you'd like to support the show, I'd like to remind you that we do have a Patreon page set up. You can go to patreon.com/DCL podcast, and you can find all that information there. And if you have time, we really do appreciate it. We've got a bunch of new reviews that have come in through iTunes and one through Podbean just recently. Podbean's another platform. We use Libsyn, but somehow it just kind of amazes me where this podcast kind of goes out to and where people listen to it. So wherever you're listening to it, if you have a chance to leave us a review, that sure helps us get the word out to the podcast community for people to find it, and it helps us grow it. So I really do appreciate it. And one thing that we've kind of been remiss of is kind of reading some of those reviews and acknowledging those of you who have done it. So each and every one of you who has, we sure do appreciate the time that you take to do that. So between now and our next show, if you want to get a hold of Christy and I, you can always reach me, Steve, at dclpodcast.com over at Facebook and on Twitter. You can also email me at steve@dclpodcast.com. You can reach Christy on Twitter at PackYRPixieDust and on Facebook at PackYourPixieDust. And of course, you can always reach her at Christy@PackYourPixieDust.com as well. So if you are heading out on your next vacation between now and our next show, all of us here at the DCL Podcast would like to wish you fair winds and safe travels as you head out on your next adventure. Once again, thanks for coming back and taking a listen, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.